cover something that, believe it or not, if you have any jewelry collection at all, you have a representation of what we're going to be discussing. And that is the antiquing, and that word is used very widely, antiquing of jewelry. There are a couple of different types, chemical, paint. We're going to show you today how what is used is a very special paint and where it's applied and what type of jewelry it's used on, and actually demonstrate an example of doing it. So let's get started. What we have is a jade ring, just to let you know that. And this is an example of an type of style ring where you would apply an antiquing on the piece because it has a very specific design on the side. It is actually a design of a dragon, but doesn't show out so well. In this case, a black type of very specific paint is used to darken only the background. We're going to show you how that is done in a representation of and where it's used in a wedding ring. When you see those wedding rings in the counter and they have this dark or black line in the design of the band, well, it is done with exactly the type of material and paint. I use that word, it's, just for the sense of understanding it better. And on the inside, it's a very specific type of paint, and oddly enough, of course, a very specific type of solvent in case you overrun what you're painting, and so that you can highlight the pieces like the dragon that are much more intricate. You would take and we will demonstrate the use of the solvent as well. We're also then going to show you in the band another method of cleaning up the edge if you overrun what you're painting. Believe it or not, ladies, I can paint a fingernail without getting any on the side because fingernail polish is used to mask out the other areas of a piece when you use another type of antiquing, the chemical version. We're going to show you that in another episode, but today let's get started on our antiquing project using the antiquing paint. Here we have, and they officially call it background antique. And what it is a specific type of liquid that bonds very well to metal. It takes a specific type of solvent to remove it. Now, you can see by way of the bottle that I'm not very good at keeping it in the bottle, but when it comes to actually painting out a piece, I can try to stay in the lines pretty well. If I know, like in this one, they're going to be refinishing the band afterwards, it makes it real easy if we get a little out of the edge, and I'll show you why. So it's a material that has to be shaken very well. It'll settle out to the bottom if you don't. I've done some shaking a little bit. Let me shake it a little more, and then I'm going to apply it to the channel. I brought out the high-tech equipment. I spent a lot of money on it, but I tell you what, it does the job. Sometimes less is more, and in this case, the old handy toothpick will work perfect for this project. Now, here is the shaken background antique solution, and I just dip it in there, and you can see that there's a drop that'll form. It doesn't matter too much how messy we get in this one, because I know see how I'm out of the line, but that's okay. Time is money. And you can see how it's made where it will just run in the channel. And that's what you want. You want to get it and just run it around the ring. This also has a distillate type of material in it, and that causes it to dry quickly, which is good. I am doing this, obviously, you see, on a black pad because it's really kind of indelible in a way on something that's absorbent. And look at how quick and easy that has run through the grooves. And that's intentional. That's how it's made, is to be very viscous to start. Now, this is a ring, being that I always try to do extra, is a case where you want to put pretty much a second layer in the groove because it, believe it or not, will last a long time. the thicker it is, really the longer it'll last. So I'm just going to put another drop here, let it run down through the groove, and it's drying as we speak. I am going to just kind of suspend it for a moment, and we're going to let that dry, and then I'm going to bring you back and show you how to clean it up. It only took a few minutes, but the antiquing now has dried in the channel. Of course, I wasn't concerned about getting out of the line so much in this case because I knew that I needed to apply a satin finish to the piece anyway. I actually applied the satin finish beforehand also to take out any of the larger little bumps or nicks that may be in it. Now, when it comes to bands, I always suggest to the client to let me put a finish, especially a man's band, let me put a finish on your ring because it's going to wind up scratched anyway. So why not scratch it in a way that it's attractive? And in this case, we're using what is referred to as a satin finish. So I have the wheel chosen to create it. It's a sandpaper, what we refer to as a sandpaper disc wheel, and has a very kind of fine grade of sandpaper. Let me show you how simple in this case it is. Now, we could use the solvent if it was bright polished and I got some on the edge and there was nothing else I needed to do to it. The solvent, it would just remove it just as soon as you do it. But we don't and aren't using that today. So let's go ahead. We'll move our high-tech equipment out of the way, the toothpicks, and let me get a little magnification. I'm going to apply that finish. And by doing and creating that finish at the same time, of course, it removes the excess antiquing and any little additional bumps and scratches, making it like new. Now, that is the beveled edge. You can see we still have a mess on the other side. You can see how that's beveled. Let's go ahead. Now, the nice thing in this case is there's not a sapphire in the middle because this wheel is actually the hardness of a ruby or sapphire, so therefore it would scratch it. This is a diamond. And I can actually run that wheel across the top of the diamond, of course, and not worry about harming it. In this instance, I can get a nice finish right up to the diamond. Since I did make a little mess as well right there. Let's go ahead and run this around, cleaning it up in the same movement. You can see that it's nice, attractive, fine finish. As I'm going, I can clean up the other side as well, provided I angle the wheel. If I see anything from a different angle that needs work. And as we reapproach the diamond, we know we have gone all the way around. You can see that as I turn it, the beautiful, beautiful background now that it has. And what that does is it separates out the design. It creates a nice visual appearance and totally changes the look. And that is how it's done. We'll see you in the next episode where we cover antiquing using a chemical process, which will definitely have a representation of it in your jewelry case, but you may have never known what created it. We're going to show you that.